Hello dear students, in this video we are going to see the next part of the login. So in the previous video we saw how to design this login page, and when I give the username and the right password, it will take us to the next window. So we didn't design this window in the previous video. We just show how to show the window. We just create this window alone. In this video, we are going to see how to add all these components. So what we saw in the previous thing is, this is what we saw. So exactly this is what we saw, how to change the background and everything, and foreground, the font, all these things. So if I give the correct username password, we design this. So in this video, we are going to see include all these four components: combo box, list, checkbox, and radio button. In this window, we are going to see also if I give the wrong username password also, it notified us with the dialog box. So that's what also it says check your username and password. So this is what we discussed in the previous window. Now in this we are going to see the design of the second page. So that is, we are going to use the username password, go to the second page, and we are going to design this page in this video, including all this four components. Let's do that. So already we saw when I click on this button, and if I the username and the password is correct, it is going to take us to the new window GUI component. So this is what the class of it. And in the previous video, we just saw how to change the background of that using that is, we gave pink color and we gave the size, layout, all these things. So let us see one by one. So let us see here what are the other components we want. First thing is we want a label box. How many label box here I have used is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 label box I want. One to get the hobby, the department, the subject, and the gender. So first let us do that. So first I'm going to create the reference of all this J label, and I want to get the hobby. So let me say as label hobby. And the next one, I want to get the department. So let me name it as L department. And then I want to get the subject. So I'll say as L subject. It's just label subject. So easily we can remember it. And then I want to get the gender. So I'll say L gender. So these are the labels. And let us define it. So first, how to define? We know that hobby equal to new. So I'm going to make it as a label, and I'm going to say enter the hobby, or you can say choose the hobby. Choose hobby. Similarly, we'll create the rest for quickly. And here we have used only the flow layer, so we don't want to set the bounds, XY coordinates, anything. Next, I'm going to say choose the department, and then we say here the label box for is L, and then next one is I have to choose subject. So for that, the label box name we have given as L subject, and here we say choose subject, and then here we are going to give the gender. So let us say L gender, that is what the name we have given, and we say choose the gender. So all the label box is ready, as I have shown in the previous video. This component is now ready. So now we have to place all this in the board. So for that, what we have to do, the code for that is just add. I have to say add. What are the components I have to add? L hobby. So that is the first label box. Followed by I have to add everything else. So let me say add, then L department, and followed by I have to add the next one as add L subject, and the last one is add L and gender. So these are the 4 label boxes I want. So I got it. Right. Then what is the next thing I want to include is nearby the first label. I want to include this combo box. Combo box is like a drop down list. So we want to define it. Let us do that. So for that, what I am going to do is I'm going to create first a reference for it. Let me say JCombo. So that is the class to include the JCombo, and let us give some name for it. Let me say as combo. That is I'm going to use for hobby. So let us say as CHOB. So now I have to define it. So let me say as CHOB, and I have to create an object for this class. So it is now done. The object is created. So if you see in this, we want a list of hobbies to be displayed, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a string array which is going to display all the hobbies. So I'm going to include the necessary hobbies which I want. I'm going to use string initializer, array initializer to initialize it. Let me say the first thing is singing. And whatever you want, you can add it, dancing, and then reading, and you can add others like coding, you can say as playing. So these are the list. So now this list, no, the string array, I have to give here as h. So what happened means this elements of this or items of this array will be included in this combo. So now the combo box is created. Now we have to place it on the window. We know that we have to use add function to add it. So what we have to add is combo hobby. So that is the object name we have given for this. That's it. So done. Okay, so let us run it and see. So if I run it, no, every time I have to go to the login page, and if the username and the password is correct, then only it will come here. So to avoid it, what I am going to do is already we saw how to make a login page, right? So what I am going to do is I am going to make a separate main function to this program itself so that we can run as a separate one. Otherwise, every time I have to go to login page and I have to do. So the file name and the class name where we have the main function should be same, right? So let me give like this and just give some new name for it. Let me say as one. Okay, now let us create an object for it. Let me say as new. That's it. So now this will directly call this constructor. So inside this constructor only we have all these things. So the class which have contained the only should be the public class. Sorry. So here the class which contain the main function is this. So this class should be public. So now we did it. So now what is the next thing we are going to do is let us now run. So directly we have the main function. So directly go to the window. Now we can see choose hobby. Nearby we have all this drop down list. So now what we can do is we have a text area here. When I choose any one of this hobby, it should display what I have selected there. So what I can do here is let me create a text area. So already we know how to create a text area. So let me say as text area. So text area, and we'll give some name for it. Let me say as TA. So that is the text area, and we have to define the object for it. Let me say TA equal to new text area. And here in the text area, I have to say how many rows and the columns. Let me say the number of rows here is 5, and the number of column, let me say as 30. Okay. So now this text area is ready. And we have to add it here at the last. Okay, so we'll add TA here. So that's done. So now if I run it, you can see the text area. So the text area is ready, right? So now we have read whenever I click on this or choose anything from this drop down list that is called as combo box, it should display here. So for that, what we have to do is we have to do the event handling. So to do the event handling only, we have the listeners. So earlier in the previous video, we saw when I click on the button, the listener for that is action listener. So here this is a combo box, right? So for this combo box, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a listener called item listener. So I'll say implements item listener. Item listener. So the corresponding header file that also added, which is available in AWT event package. So item listener, and still it shows error. We know whenever we use interface, the corresponding function for that should be implemented. The corresponding function for the item listener interface is item state change. So now we are going to define it. What I'm going to do is, so now according to this, we created the component and we placed it on the frame. So here our component is JComboBox. When I choose something from the combo box, it should be connected to the function. So for that, what we have to do is we have to do the wiring, right? To whom we want to do this one for this combo box. So there is only I'm going to do some event. So what I'm going to do is for this event, I'm going to do the wiring. That is, we have to say add item uh, listener. So, and I have to pass the current object to it. So the wiring is also done. Now we have to say what is the functionality it has to do. So what I'm going to do is, so every time whenever I do any event, an object of the event will be created and thrown to the corresponding functionality. Here the functionality is item state change. So this have all the information about who created the event, everything. So I'll say here e dot get source. Okay, the event creator is equal to the combo box means, then what should I do is I have to display it, right? So for that, what I'm going to do here is if I'm going to say if I have selected something, I want to know that, right? So I'll say e dot get state change. So something is selected over there. Or then if the state change, then I have to say what is the thing which I have selected. So that I have to say, right? So what I'll do is if this is, so now instead of this, let me do like this. I'll say like a string. I'm going to use a string. So let me say string as yes one, which is equal to e dot get which item I have selected, that one I want to do. I want to get it. So I'll say get item selected. So which item, or we can say get selected item. There is another function called get selected item. So get selected item will help us to get which item is selected. Wait a minute. So here it is, if you see here, this function is not going to return a string, it is going to return an object. So I cannot give a string here. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to directly put it inside the text area. I'll say ta dot set text. So ta is our text area where we want to say the result. So say set text. Set text is already available function. To that, I'm going to keep it. So what I want to choose is from this combo box, I want to get the selected item. So I have given it. So and then in the set text function, we can give only the strings. So I can add concatenate a string. So this will also become a string. So I'll say you have selected. So here we are going to get what we have selected. So this is a combo box object that get selected item will help us to get the selected item, and we are going to display it in the text area. So now let us run it and see. So if I run it, you can see here we have a combo box. Let me say my interest is coding. You can see you have selected coding. If I choose something else, dancing, you got it, right? So it is even you can increase the size of the text area so that it will be little more visible. So let us say set font, and inside that we have to give the object of the font. We have already seen it in the previous video. So here I have to give the family of the font, and then I want to say font not bold, and then I will say what is the size, let it be 20. Okay, so now if you see it will be little more clear, visible. So now I'm going to choose something from here and coding. You can see here it says you have selected coding. Okay, So this is what we have did now. So we have did even handling for this combo box. Similarly, we add the rest of the components. So we done with combo box. Okay. We will do one more thing. We'll reduce this, we'll say as 20, and so the width will be, the column size is 20, so you can see that it's reduced. So if I choose something, you can see it says you have selected reading. It's enough. Now let us go to the next thing. So to get the department, what we are going to use is, if you see here, to use see the department, we are going to create a list, right? So this is done now. We are going to create this list. So to create a list, we have JList. So JList, and we are going to create a reference for this object. So let me say as list, or we can give some other name here as list department. So we are going to give the department over there. So how will we define? As usual, we have to say li department equal to new definition JList. So now, if you see here, we want to give some list of department, right? So here I have to give list. So for that, again, what we are going to create is, we are going to create a string array, and we are going to use array initializer method to initialize it. Let us give all the necessary department here. Let me give a CSC, and then we can give ECE, and we can give AI and ML, and we can give as computer engineering, and then we can give AI and PS. So like this, whatever you want, you can include it. So now this array object, I am going to pass it to the list. Now done. So according to this, now the component is done. We have to place it on the frame. So for that, we have to use what add. So it should come near to the department label. So I add it here. Add. And what is the name we have given for this list is li department. It is list. Just to remember it, we added it. So now if we run it, we can see the list got added, right? So you can see the list is, you can choose anything. Here we have an option. Either you can choose only one item at a time, or even you can choose multiple item at a time. So let me show you both. So where is our list? Here it is, right? So I can give li depart that the object dot. So here I have a function called get selection. Get selector mode. Mode is here. So that in that I have to give list. Here I have to select the function dot list. This function name is, class name is list selection model, and then here I have options like, do I want to take multiple items or single item? First I'll show you single interval selection. So in this case, at a time I can able to select only one item. If I run it, you can see I can select only one item at a time. In the same case, if I give multiple here, so I can able to select multiple items at a time. Let us see that as well. So here if I run it, so you can see I can select AIML as well as CSC as well as AIS. So three items can be selected at the same time. So this is how we can do with this function. So here for that we have the function set selection mode. Under the list selection model, we have to choose either multiple interval selection or single selection. So we included it. Now what is the next thing you have to do? Whenever I select something from the list, it should be displayed on the text area. So for that, what I am going to do is, and we can do even that with the item listener as well. I will also show you another listener. So item listener, we saw one example, right? Let us go to the next listener. The listener name is list selection listener. So from the list, whenever I do some selection, that can also trigger an event. For that, we have the listener called list selection listener. So that also have some function we want to implement it. So we are going to do it. The function for that is value change. Whenever I change something, some value out of it, we can able to handle it. So let us do one by one. So what I am going to do is, for example, what I am going to select can be one or multiple. So here as of now, let's just start with single. So if I select a single value, what we have to do, let us do one thing. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to get the index of what I have selected. Okay. So index can be integer. Let me say as index is equal to, from where I have to select the index, from this list department, right? I'm going to take the object of it. Dot, I'm going to say get selected index. So only one thing, selected index. Only one, because it is a single, so at the time I can able to select only one thing. So using the index, I'm going to access our string array. So I'll be getting a string, right? So selected will say as the name, and I'll say what is the name where I have the department. It is department array. When I give the index, it will give us the value for it. So what I'll do is b of, inside that I'll give the index. So what item I have selected, it will give the index. Using the index, I am going to get the data for it. What is the name of that array is B. Okay, so that is B is the name of the array. So to that array, I'm going to pass the index so that I'll get the value. Then I'm going to set it in the text area. The object of that is TA set text, and you can say you have selected, you have selected, and we'll say what we have selected. Okay, so now let us run this. So now we are going to select only one item at a time. So I'm going to select CSC. So it is not coming. So I hope you would have identified what is the reason. So here what we did is we made the list, we placed it on the board, but and the function is also ready. There is no wiring done, right? So for that we have to do it. What is that? This the name of the list, the object dot add, and what is the listener? You can remember by this add list selection listener. So we have to add that is list selection listener, and we have to pass the current object. So now this is the wiring. So that is done now. So now we can run it, and I'm going to select something. You can see you have selected CSC. If I select AML, it is coming, you have selected AML. If I want to choose AIDS, you can say you have selected AIDS. Now at a time you can able to choose only one. Now let us go for the next one. I have told you that you can also select multiple things at a time. So multiple. So to this, let us do the thing. So multiple means this get selected index will help you to get only one index at a time. Now what we want is we are going to get multiple indexes, right? Multiple selection we are going to do. So I am going to say set selection indexes. So at a time, it will help us to get multiple items and it's going to return an array. So we have to make it as an array. So get selected indexes will help us to do it. One second. So here if you see we have given a set, right? It should be get selected. We are going to get the selected indexes. So it can be more than one. So we are storing it in a array. So now what we are going to do is we may have number of values. So we can access array through a for loop. So just create a normal for loop I equal to 0 I less than I should go till the length of the array. So I'll say I less than array name dot length until the length. Then I'm going to implement it. So then what we'll do is we'll make this string class, we will define it outside select. Initially we'll make this empty string. And now here we'll do, every time it may be having more than one value, right? So what I will do is I will append every new selection, and then I'm going to get the value. Now the index is in I. I want the space between the selection, so let us give like this. And finally, after we get every values, after the last, we will add it to the text. So this selected variable have all the selected value now. Okay, so now we are getting all the indexes. It's an array. One by one, we are going to take all the index selected index. And for the corresponding selected index, we are going to take the value from this array, and then we are going to keep it appending in this text string variable. So now let us run it and see how does it works. So there is an exception. Class not found, it shows. We'll check it out. So here the error is because we missed this curly brace. So okay, now let us run it. So if I run it, we get the window. So here in this, we are going to choose multiple items. Okay, so let us say AC, AIML, CSC. See, it is everything we selected. We'll run it once again so that you can see it clearly. So here I can choose multiple items. First I have selected CSC. Then I'm going to select one second. CSC. Then here some index may be problem. Then it's coming here. AI. It is selecting here. We'll check it out. So here we have one second. So we run it. So here when I select an item, it is coming and I can select multiple items. Sometimes it comes and I can select whatever item I have selected. So here I have selected CAC, ECE, AIML and CE. So everything is displayed here. So I can select multiple items at a time. So when we give this multiple option here for this list button. So hope you have got it. So we have did the two things. The next thing what we are going to do is we are going to include, if you see here in our previous window, if you see, we have to include the checkbox and the radio button. Let us do that. So to do that checkbox, we have the class called checkbox. So we will have some checkboxes as we saw in this video, and so we see here already. We have done with this. We want to have this checkboxes. So checkboxes means at a time we can select multiple items at a time. So we are going to do that. Let us include some of the subjects like this. So what I'm going to do is we will create a checkbox. We'll say checkbox as one for Java. I will say as then next checkbox for C, next checkbox for C++, next checkbox we will include for Python. Okay, let us start with 4. So how to include that here is we are going to create an object for it. So first one is checkbox Java equal to new, and we have to create an object, right? Similarly, we'll create for the rest. So then we have checkbox C, and then we have checkbox C++, and then we have the checkbox for Python. So if you give some meaningful name, you can remember. So now you all these components are ready. We have to place it on the frame. So for that, what we have to do here, we have to add. So we are going to add all these things. So first one is checkbox on Java and put a semicolon. I'll just copy paste it for you so that you can add it. So one is for checkbox C, another one is checkbox for C++, another checkbox for Python. So everything is got added. So if I run this, you can see one more thing is, see checkbox is coming. See how the checkbox is there. Nearby that we have to give what is the label of it. So here itself we will define this checkbox is for selecting Java subject, and this is for selecting C, and this is for selecting C++, and this is for selecting Python. So we include it so that nearby the checkbox you will get the label as well. So we are going to see that. So you can see here all these things came, right? So now we will do some event handling for this as well. So already we completed this drop down as well as this list. So now let us do it for the checkbox. So when I click on the checkbox, it should say what I have selected. So let us do that. For that, let us use the same. So whenever there is an event, should be a listener. Let us use the same listener here, item listener. Okay. So already for the item listener, we have created this one functionality. So already we got who have been creating event. For that we are doing. So here I am going to say if event created source. So we say get source is because of checkbox. What is the first thing? Java. So then what will I do? I have to say what is, which is it clear, checked or not. So for that I'm going to say, I'll say e dot get state change is equal to 1, which means if I have selected it, then I'll say TA is the text area name. I'll say set text. I'll say what you have selected. You can now say, I know this is the Java button. I can directly say you have selected. We have selected Java. Okay, if it is not selected, also we can use. We'll say ta dot set text ta set text, and I can say you have not selected. You have not selected Java. So this is we have did for the first checkbox. Similarly, we can do it for the rest as well. So if the thing is done for C, then we'll do this one. So we'll say you have selected C. And this will say you have not selected this. If the event is created because of the checkbox of C++, so then we can say you have selected C++. Otherwise, we will see you have not selected C++. The last one we can say if you have selected, if the event created is because of the Python checkbox, we can say you have selected Python. Otherwise, you have not selected Python. So now let us run it. So if I run it, you can see our checkboxes, and if I click Java, it should come, right? It is not coming. I hope you understood why, because we didn't do the wiring. So how will we do? For every checkbox, we have to add the listeners. So we know the checkboxes, right? Checkbox for Java dot set, or no, dot add item listener. So this is the wiring. So if you don't do, then whatever event created by this will not be connected to the function. Similarly, we have to do for the rest. So here one is for the C, another is for C++, another is for Python. So now if I run it, now the wiring is done. So now if I run it, whenever there is an event occurring, for example, when I click C++, it say you have selected C++. If I again click it, it says you have not selected because I have unchecked it. Similarly, when I click Python, it says you have selected Python, you have selected C++, you have selected C, and you also have selected C. If you want all to be shown together, you can use a loop and you can do the same thing. So we did the checkbox. The last one is we have to include the radio button. So what is the difference between checkbox and the radio button? Means in the checkbox at a time we can choose multiple items, but in the radio button you can choose only one thing. So let us do that. So first, everything we know, always we have to create the component first. So the component for the radio button is radio button, and we'll give some radio button R for our male and a radio button for the female. So let us define it then. So how to do is radio button for male is equal to new radio button. I got it. So in here the radio button we'll say it as male. So that is the label I'm going to give. And the next one is radio button for the female is equal to new. We'll create radio button and that is for the female. So we done. So here we have to give us female. Done. So the component we have to add it now. We have to add it near the gender. So we say add radio button for the male as well as we have to add it for the radio button for the female. So both are added. Now we have to add some event again for that. So if you don't add it, then no connection will be made. So we say radio button for the male dot add item listener. So dot add item listener and we pass the current object. Similarly, we will be doing it for the radio button for the female. Okay, so we have did it, and here we are going to say depending upon who has been selected, same thing we will do. So we will say if it is if there are many ways to handle this. I'm showing the simplest one. If the event created is by because of the radio button of the male, you can say you have your gender is, we say your gender is male. Okay, so we will remove this else part. We don't want this. And also, if the event creator is because of this female, we say your gender is female. Okay, done. So all this thing is done. Let us run this. When I run this, you can see if I click the male, let's say your gender is male. Also, when I click the female, it is coming female. So now you can say radio button. Any one button should be checked at the time. Both should not be checked at the time. Then it will not be a radio button. It looks similar to the checkbox. So what we'll do is there for that we have an option called button group. We are going to group it button group. We are going to create an object for it, and then for this we are going to define it. So button group equal to new button group. So now we are going to add this to this button group. Okay, so we say button group dot. So in the button group we are going to add the radio button of the male as well as we are going to add the radio button of the female. Right, now it is okay. So now at a time you can able to choose only one. So now if I run this program, you can say either I can choose male or you can go for female. If I don't put the radio button group, both will be selected. So if I click male, female will be unchecked automatically. If I click female, this will be unchecked automatically. So this is how we can able to include the different components. This is combo box, this is list box, this is the check box, and this is the radio button. And also we did a simple event handling along with this. Hope you have got it. Thank you. God bless you.